Alright, aha, I TV, like your comment, and share my videos near a phone. Mwanka somebody share very good, matter my video so dear. Na mwanka someone here, a latest update, the aqua the eba, and a mako boa and semni be anwa midi be ebedomo. Na won so much margin away your comment section, I say a day amam. Men say omre and say wada yemura and semno. Now, the
World Bank is urging a comprehensive review of the Bank of Ghana's foreign exchange intervention program. This follows the bank's latest report revealing that nearly $4 billion was spent between November last year and May 2025 to stabilize the city. The World Bank becomes the second major institution after the IMF to raise concerns about the sustainability of and impact of the central bank's intervention.
It says the action by the regulator resulted in almost 60% appreciation of the Ghana cedi during that period. But the World Bank noted that even though this might be celebrated, there are concerns about the sustainability of its move. The World Bank was worried about the impact of this on Ghana's international reserves if the pressure on the cedi is sustained. In the medium term, the World Bank says an appreciation of the exchange rate could harm exports and boost imports, showing an accumulation of the foreign exchange reserves. But in the long-term effects, the bank says could include price distortions and could weaken local production, as well as tradable goods, reduce the country's competitiveness, and hinder ongoing structural reforms aimed at transforming the Ghanaian economy.
Well, meanwhile, the Bank of Ghana is pushing back against the World Bank's reported figures and assessment of its market support program. The central bank is contesting both the nearly $4 billion figure and aspects of the World Bank's interpretation of its intervention strategy. Moving on, the International Monetary Fund is set to begin its fifth review of Ghana's performance under the ongoing fund-supported program. This follows the arrival of the full IMF mission team led by Mission Chief Stefan Hode, who touched down over the weekend.
Fresh information that Joy Business has picked up shows that issues about arrears clearance that government is yet to finalize in terms of its audit, especially how much you spend in the area of construction and projects for last year, will come up strongly during this meeting. There are also concerns about whether Bank of Ghana has done enough when it comes to its policy rate cut, looking at the significant reduction in the inflation rate since the beginning of this year, as well as its reserve program and its dollar intervention. The review will primarily focus on the economic data of Ghana ending June 2025. Meanwhile, there are strong indications that Ghana will pass this fifth review, resulting in some $360 million being disbursed in October next month to hit Bank of Ghana's account. So far, Ghana has received some $2.3 billion since it signed up to the IMF program. This will be the last but one review before Ghana ends the IMF program in May next year.
Well, joining me on Zoom is Associate Professor of Finance at the Andrews University in the U.S., Williams Whipper. Good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us here on the marketplace. So let's talk about what is supposed to dominate discussions as the IMF reviews the program. I want to first ask you about the significance of the unresolved arrears clearance to Ghana's ability to pass the IMF review, as well as the risk they pose for the broader program.
Good afternoon to you, Daryl, and good afternoon to our viewers. So the main thing why IMF is focusing on this arrears prevention is specifically towards physical repairs. They really want to make sure that the government has a plan and to be able to pay off all the liabilities, especially the hidden supply liabilities, and then also independent power producers, with their aim that when the program ends, we are not going to carry over these risks into the post-IMF program period. So the physical repair is very, very, very important. Its impact if it's not done well, it's going to worsen the non-performing loan issue we have in Ghana, and the banking sector will be affected. Already, we know the non-performing loans are in the 20% thereabout, which is very threatening to the survival of or the banking sector stability. In short, they are really focusing on how can we ensure that there is financial assurance just after Ghana exiting the IMF program, and that is the main aim. If this is not handled carefully, it's going to we may go back immediately to IMF. Remember, about 2 years ago, I made a speech in Ghana, and I said that we probably needed more than the 3 years, looking at our indiscipline. So this is very, very, very significant review. One other thing, there have been a lot of, from the audit point of view, I'm sure government is also making sure that all claims that are coming from suppliers are due claims that they must pay, and they are paying the right amount. Just before the election, a lot of contracts were given, and they may have to ascertain that. So probably once they meet the IMF, they must explain to them that the reason why they have not been able to do this is because of the audit. However, government must prove to IMF that they have made some cash available. Just after the audit, they will be in the position to be able to pay them, which will bring back the financial assurance I talked about, that, and is going to reduce the non-performing loan risks that we have in Ghana.
Yeah, some of the central bank's moves are going to go under scrutiny. Inflation is going down. The central bank has cut the policy rate. Do you think it's sufficient, or being just too cautious as we look towards macroeconomic stability?
So I look at the data and I see that probably in my perspective, it is more appropriate rate than being cautious. So if you've noticed, within the last two meetings, they have cut the monetary policy rate by 650 basis points. Inflation has moved as at August to about 11.5%, which is within the 4 years, the lowest. We are almost close to our inflationary target of 8 plus or minus 2%. So this strategy of the 650 basis point, in my perspective, is good. And government must ensure that, I'm sure in the next, their last review meeting, probably they may have some slight cuts, because we are hoping that inflation may drop a little bit in September and also October, which will put us within our target of 8 plus or minus 2%. What we may have to watch in all these rate cuts is that how is the rate cut propelling growth, especially solving unemployment problem, which is a major challenge. We are anticipating that industry, as the rate drops, companies will now start to expand their operations and employ more to create employment. Employment from both formal employment and informal employment, and we may see that the rate should have an impact. If this is not done, then whatever we have done is just to solve one leg. The cut in monetary policy rates must also ensure growth. That growth must be seen in unemployment rate decline, which is very, very important.